New Zealand, with Chile, three of us. And there's a queue to come in, and one or two countries which are quite advanced in their queue and will be joining soon. So I think we have to keep on being active, smaller scale platforms, but to us, these are all the more important.
Don't miss our special coverage of the leadership transition in Singapore. After 2 decades at the helm, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong sits down for one last interview as the Prime Minister of Singapore. From leading a nation through crisis to establishing Singapore's place in the world, a look back at the stewardship of Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, a 2-part special. Meet the new Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. Lawrence Wong, from the time he entered politics to his plans for the future. And don't miss the live swearing-in ceremony of the Singapore Prime Minister and his ministers.
My name is Wei Du. They're right there. And I'm tracking the tens of thousands of Chinese citizens on the migration trail to America. Walk the Line, Saturday on CNA.
Singaporeans love their cats and dogs, and many are willing to spend big money on them.
Makes them happy then, I guess.
Every baby celebrate their birthday can be the same for pets as well.
And these are considered a necessity.
Willing to spend just to see that happy smile on your face.
What do these animals really need to be happy and well? Find out on The Business of Parenting. Starts 26th May, Sunday on CNA.
When the men disappeared, it was an awful thing to happen, and a lot of people suffered.
तो इसी के लिए हमारी लड़ाई है अपने जंगल के लिए, जमीन के लिए, इतनी ठंडी हवा के लिए.
It's a poison that is never used in the manufacture of medicines.
Энэ зам болохоор харах байхыг хайгаад баргуудаа энэ үлийг авч чадсан.
हमारी यही कोशिश है कि हम बच्चों को जितना हो कि बच्चों को वैक्सीन पिलाई जाए.
和平不会是天上自己掉下来，其实和平是靠争取的。
हम दलित परिवार के हैं ना, तब ये अत्याचार हमारे साथ हो रहा है. Pasti kupu-kupu ini akan hilang suatu saat.
CNA 938, the station you trust for news, current affairs, your work and money, trends, and all you may have missed through your busyness. Listen anytime, anywhere. CNA 938.
Rural coastal towns are among the most vulnerable to climate change. And what happens in urban centers can have an outsized impact on them and the marine environment they rely on. Rush hour in Metro Manila means heavy traffic and bustle. As the city expands, parts of Manila have become so congested that there is barely any space in between houses. Proponents say land reclamation may help ease the congestion, but it also means the loss of large swaths of marine habitats. 66-year-old Marciano Arcana has been fishing since he was 11. Dredging activities near their fishing grounds started over 2 years ago. His income, he says, has plummeted to about 1/8 of what it used to be.
Pagkakaiba noon at saka ngayon, nandyan yung dredging. Medyo humina ngayon. Humina ngayon ang yung kita ng mga katulad sa amin mandaragat. Katulad yung nagdredging karaniwan, nalabo ang tubig. Katulad yung panisid ang buhay namin, paano ka makakahuli kung laging malabo ang tubig?
Moratoriums are now in place on fresh reclamation along Manila Bay and seabed quarrying across the country. But ongoing projects can continue. Even without reclamation, coastal development risks damaging marine habitats. Sediment runoff can smother coral reefs, affect marine life, and hurt livelihoods.
As you can see in this community, the houses are just few meters away from an ongoing construction. And what I've noticed here is that each time heavy machinery drives by, such as a backhoe earlier, you can really feel the ground shaking. Now, striking a balance among ensuring community welfare, protecting the environment, and addressing infrastructure gaps has always been a challenge in developing economies like the Philippines.
75-year-old Benilda Salcapaño sells dried fish for a living. But construction along their coast is slowly creeping into the area where she used to dry fish.
Siguro mga 3 buwan na hindi kami nakakapag-build. Siyempre po ma'am, dito kami kumikita, dito ang hanap buhay namin. Eh kung lilipat kami sa ibang lugar, di namin alam kung ano yung magiging buhay namin doon. Pag sa tabing dagat kayo, madali ang hanap buhay.
In Batangas City, a place dubbed as the center of gas development in the Philippines, experts say the buildup of plants and their construction along the shore could potentially pollute water systems that eventually flow to the oceans. Accurately assessing their impact is difficult due to the lack of baseline data and natural capital accounting in the area prior to the construction.
It would have tremendous impacts to fisher folks based on so many activities, that would relegate them to corners in the usual municipal waters that they would catch plentiful of fish catch.
Batangas City is host not just to gas plants, but also an international port. Fishing is prohibited within a certain distance from the routes of vessels that load and unload cargo.
In the 1990s, hundreds of families were displaced due to a reclamation project for that port behind me. Obviously, this piece of infrastructure has contributed significantly to the maritime transport of both people and cargo in a country of over 7,000 islands. But members of the coastal community I spoke to here feel that each time large-scale construction occurs by the coast, the space for them to secure their living narrows down even further.
The country's current framework puts a premium on securing environmental compliance certificates, mostly prior to a project. But Batangas fisherman Joseph Barrios hopes public consultation can be done among fishing communities before, during, and even after infrastructure development near the coast.
Kaya kailangan po ito nagkakaroon ng mga public consultation para mas mahusay na nilalatag din po ng mga katulad namin ang aming karapatan sa kabuhayan, paninirahan at sa mga epekto. Maging anuman ang proyekto, kailangan nandoon po kami ng mga magpipresenta para makita o maihayag din namin ang aming saloobin hinggil sa kanilang mga itatayong mga proyekto.
As the tide turns, the Philippines also faces a global challenges such as pollution, and coral bleaching is a sign of warming oceans. Most Filipinos, like myself, share a bond with the coast. Across the country, each town has a wet market where locally caught seafood is sold. Growing up for me meant regular meals of fried fish and white rice with soy sauce and chili. Around half of animal protein consumed in Filipino diets comes from fish. But with the challenges that Philippine oceans now face, I could not help but wonder for how long.
Manipulation. Chaos. The world gone mad.
You can't stop us. We hold the power now.
This is Asia Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Lo Koi Su. Tonight's top stories: rethinking Singapore's fundamental assumptions to move the country forward. Incoming Prime Minister Lawrence Wong lays out what he is prepared to do a day before being sworn in. A bid for the seat in Parliament representing the Hindu holy city of Varanasi. India's Prime Minister files his paperwork as a 6-week national poll crosses its halfway mark. The British Foreign Ministry summons the Chinese ambassador, making clear that espionage and cyber attacks are not tolerated after the arrest of 3 men charged with spying for Hong Kong. A Thai activist jailed on charges of insulting the monarchy dies after more than 3 months on hunger strike. Natipon Sane Sangkan had been demanding reforms to the justice system. And fresh support from Malaysia's Prime Minister for the political wing of Hamas, stressing no involvement with its military movement. And also tonight, at least 14 people dead and dozens more injured in Mumbai after the collapse of a massive billboard during a thunderstorm. And in business news, China vows to defend its rights and interests after the US confirms it's raising tariffs on $18 billion worth of Chinese imports. Plus, Australia releases a plan to spend billions in hopes of lowering inflation and touts a scheme to reduce its economy's reliance on mining. Singapore's incoming Prime Minister Lawrence Wong says he's prepared to re-examine all fundamental assumptions in order to take the country forward. He says the process has already begun under the Forward SG movement, citing examples in housing and employment. Mr. Wong spoke in an interview ahead of his appointment. CNA's Sherlyn Xiao with this report.
It was first in the civil service that Mr. Lawrence Wong found his calling. Nearly 30 years on, and on